So how you control the speed is by the amount of pressure you set on the foot pedal. Okay? So far okay? Remember, no speed down. So you have to control the speed by the amount of pressure you step on the foot pedal. So you step a lot, you use a lot of pressure, what happens is the machine moves very, very fast, and you will find that it's very hard for you to control. So I want you guys to step very lightly on the foot pedal to feel the speed of the machine. If you feel like you can go faster, then you can step more. Okay, and whenever you use this machine, it's very important to control your fabric because there is a blade. Okay, so just now that machine I showed you on the blade, right, is quite big. However, for this, it's quite small. So let me show you what the blade for this. This thing here. This is your blade. So just be very careful whenever you're using this machine. Okay, so what's this blade for? It is to cut away all these sprays. See, my fabric is spraying, right? So you want to be very careful and just cut away all these sprays. It's not to cut into your fabric. I'm going to repeat again. If let's say you cut too much into your fabric, I'll get you to recut the whole thing again. But later on, you will be overlocking the whole armhole. And you want to be very careful when you overlock the whole armhole because if you cut a hole, there's nothing much I can do because it's permanently there already. However, for sleeve, you can still recut it. Okay? So let me show you how to position your fabric. We're going to overlock a straight edge first. The first thing, whenever we're pulling out the footer, right, I want you all to just use your thumb, place it below the footer and push this upwards. Okay, push this upwards to lift up the footer. When you're doing this action, I want you all to make sure that your foot is away from the foot pedal. Because if you were to accidentally start stepping on the pedal, the machine starts moving. Very dangerous. Okay, so make sure that when your finger is close to the blade, make sure you are not stepping on the foot pedal, your feet is away, and then you can lift this up. So like this, pull this up, slide your fabric in. Okay, the position that you want to place your fabric is right beside the blade. Can you see? My fabric is currently right beside the blade. And this is my needle, right? This is my needle. You're going to place your fabric before the needle. Okay, if you place your fabric behind the needle, it does not get overlocked. Okay, so you're going to place your fabric before the needle and right beside the blade. This is where you're looking at constantly. Okay, if let's say your fabric goes like this, is it for sure your fabric will get cut? Okay, so I'm going to reposition it. Okay, place it right beside the blade. And then I'm going to place my hands forward like this and look over here at this corner. Step very lightly on the foot pedal. Stop. By stopping, you can reposition your fabric to make sure that it's always resting against the blade. So step, stop, stop. You're here. Step, stop. So don't need to reverse. This machine does not reverse. It only does an overlock stitch from one end to the other. Once you reach the end, step on your foot pedal all the way to lift this long tail. Then you can use your snipper and cut away. So what this does, right, is it helps to cover the edges of your fabric to make sure that it stops spraying. Okay, once you're done with one side, then you can move on to the other. You cannot do all at one shot. You need to do one side, cut out, slot it in, and then do the other side. Okay? So I'll show you guys how to overlock a curve like this. Okay, later on you'll experience a curve like this on your sleeve. Okay, so how do we overlock this? Okay, the position is gonna be the same. So lift out your footer, place it right beside the blade, then step, stop. Okay, we're very close to the curve. Can you see at the bottom is curved, right? If I were to continue doing like this, right, your blade will cut into your fabric. However, to prevent this, what you're going to do is pull your fabric. Can you see? I kind of force it into a straight line. Do you see a difference? I pull it and then it becomes a straight line. Then you can stop. And this is how you overlock a curve. Okay? So this stage, right, is where students often get the most mistakes, meaning they will cut into your fabric. Okay, why, right? It's because they didn't pull it straight. So really, you want to force it into a straight line before you overlock. Okay? Then let me show you how to overlock the armhole, okay? Do you want to take one of your Okay, so armhole is going to be one whole loop. Okay, so for this, we do have to lift up your foot pedal. Sorry, not foot pedal, your footer. Okay, how do I lift this up is there's a lever behind the machine. Here. This lever here, once I push this down, what happens is my whole footer comes up. Okay, it starts to come up. Okay, the reason why just now at the beginning I didn't ask you guys to use this lever is because oftentimes students forget to bring the lever back up. Sorry, back down. You see? If you don't do this action, right, if you don't put your footer back down, the machine don't have the beeping sound to let you know that you didn't put your footer down. The blade moves regardless of whether the footer is up or down. Okay, so I find it quite dangerous. Okay, but for your armhole, we do have to lift it up because we're going to sew one whole loop. Okay, so lift up the footer, slide your armhole in. Okay, make sure that when you slide this in, right, can you see? All the excess, all the excess fabric at the back, right, is pushed away. Okay, then I'm going to slot it in. Make sure it's only one layer. Slot it in. Okay, if you've got any excess fabric, can you see? In her case, right, she has a bit of excess here. I will just use the blade to cut away. However, for the main parts, you see here, this is the main fabric. I'm not going to cut away any excess fabric. Okay, so place the footer down. Remember, place the footer down. Then, as you are overlocking, at the bottom, can you see over here? We're going to start to pull out the fabric slightly. Okay, then overlock in small sections. Then you are going to start pulling out the fabric at the bottom. When you're doing this action, right, you just want to double check to make sure that there's no fabric folded in. Okay, because sometimes, right, students forget to check, so like kind of folded in like this, right, the other side, then the blade will cut into the fabric. So you want to constantly check to make sure, okay, excess fabric push to the side, okay, then you can continue overlocking. I'm constantly pulling the fabric. Pull to the left. Pull. Can you see this is my starting point where I started from here? So what we're going to do is we're going to overlap the starting stitch and then gradually cut your fabric up. Yeah, overlapped already. So what I'm looking at, right, is at the top here, making sure it's overlapped already. Then I'm going to start to cut the fabric out.